Welcome to another RevZilla Live. We are here after dark. It is myself, Spurge, joined by Pat McHugh, and today we're talking about airbags.
Yeah, we did one of these a few weeks ago, and that was about helmets, and we thought we'd take a stab at doing airbags since this is one of the leading contenders in protective gear that's out there on the market right now.
You really got that tongue twister out of the way early, didn't you? So we are, oh my God, see, this is live. My volume was up on my computer so I could hear myself talking in a delay. We are going to be monitoring the chat. We are going to be walking through our picks here. If at any point you have a question as to what it is that we are looking at, or you want some clarifying thoughts, please feel free to throw your comments in the chat. We'll try to keep up with that to the best of our ability. We're also going to let you know up front that we have a best of airbags page. There should be a QR code popping up on your screen right now. We have links in the description below, and you can look at all of the airbags that we're about to talk about today in one place. We also have an airbags page just breaking down what airbags are and what you need to know about them. That's RevZilla.com/airbags. And you can do additional research over there. And maybe you're watching this video just because you like seeing Pat McHugh drink water after 7 p.m. If that's the case, maybe an airbag setup isn't right for you, but maybe you're looking for a helmet or a mesh jacket for the new year. You can check out our best of gear and look at all the different options available for your riding style out there. And as always, you can give our customer service team a call. Pat and I both started in customer service. So we have a fondness in our heart that if you call in, you're going to talk to a real rider who is concerned about making sure that you find the right gear, the right part, the right whatever you need for your motorcycle experience. You can give them a call at 877-792-9455 or shoot an email over to
cs@revzilla.com.
You're supposed to say RevZilla, and I was going to say .com.
I wanted to get a couple words in there. But yeah, they can help you out with any of the sizing, anything that you're looking at, whether it's jackets, pants, or airbags like we're going to talk about today. You can talk to them and get all set up for your next purchase, or stay tuned because we're going to talk about some airbags that are going to go over, under, and then we have detailed breakdowns on all of them talking about their specific sizing.
So as we refer to sizing, keep in mind that really every airbag we're going to discuss is going to have a dedicated video. So if we're talking about a Tech Air 5, which we'll jump into here in a second, and you're like, well, how do I size this? What size chart should I use? We are going to have that in each of the individual videos. So we're going to focus more on some of the grander pieces of what airbags are, and then we'll save some of the nitty gritty for as we're going through the comments. We'll try to hit it all, but if we missed anything, if you have questions, in addition to all those other pages we threw out, each of these airbags is going to have a dedicated video.
Yeah, so I'm already starting to see comments come in. I think Bill Riccardi had a question about algorithm versus tethered, and I think that's a great area to start. And when we're talking about airbags,
Bill, you're reading our mind, Bill.
Excellent segue. Oh. There's generally two rules of thumb when it comes to airbags right now in the motorcycling market. There's going to be algorithm-based systems that use a computer operating system. They read gyroscopes, accelerometers, and determine when a crash is detected, and at that point they deploy. You get a much faster deploy than you do with the tethered system. But you also have riding mode, so you can go into track mode, road mode, or even off-road mode. We have some new off-road options that have rally mode. So you do get these additional features, but you do have to rely on that system. I know you have a big concern when it comes to like the Terminator movies.
Ever since I watched the documentary Terminator, and then the follow-up, Terminator 2, I'm constantly afraid that the machines or the computers are going to come and get me. So if I am somebody living in 1987, and I don't trust computers and machines, what are my options for keeping safe with an airbag?
So then we'd look at a tethered system. A tethered system is just that. You are physically attached to the bike, and when you come off of the bike, it's going to deploy the airbag, and it's actually going to pull the cord and set off the system. So it is a mechanical-based system. It takes a little bit longer to deploy. Typically, you're about 100 milliseconds from brands like Helite and other brands out there, whereas algorithm-based hover around the 50 milliseconds, but that's still freakishly fast. The blink of an eye is about 150 milliseconds, so just to paint the picture. So you really do get a lot of those features in the tethered options.
We're going to have all kinds of B-roll footage up here for you to see as these deploy. The question that I have for you is, in addition to all that pre-recorded B-roll footage, would you feel comfortable if I put a tethered airbag on you and just yanked it to show the people live?
I'm always down for having an airbag go on me. It's one of the perks of my job.
Maybe we'll do that, maybe we won't. You'll have to stick around to find out. Cons of algorithm.
Kind of an algorithm. Like I said, you have a battery system. You have to recharge that. You have to make sure the firmware is updated. But again, you got to make sure the system is closed. Whereas with a tethered system, as long as you're plugged in, you will get a deployment no matter what.
So there's potential failure for algorithms. Cons for tethered.
Con for tethered, we talked about it before, and we talked about it for years actually. When you low side, you don't technically leave the bike, you actually go down with the bike. So if you're not leaving the surface of the bike enough to pull the cord, it's not going to deploy. So while algorithm will protect you a little bit more in a low side, you don't have that guaranteed when it comes to a tethered system.
Point is, as we're getting into this, there are pros and cons for everything. Really what we're trying to showcase is some of the newest technology that's on the market, and we're going to kick things off with the best street algorithm-based airbag, which is the Tech Air 5, currently coming in around the $790 price point.
Yeah, so the Tech Air 5 was one of the first ones we saw a few years ago. That is a standalone unit from Alpinestars and really from any brand out there when it came to an algorithm system. But we love it because it has full torso coverage. It's all down the front, over the shoulders, a little bit at the outer shoulder, and full back protectors included when the airbag deploys.
So we have a comment coming in right now from KFKW. You sound like a radio station. KFKW says, well, the tethered can be reloaded. A smart needs to go back to the manufacturer. So in the event of the Tech Air 5, KFKW, you are correct. If you do deploy this, one of the downsides is you would have to send it back to Alpinestars. They examine the airbag, and then they reload the cartridges for you. As we get into some of the newer systems later in the video, might not be the case anymore.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, Alpinestars has been learning and listening to that customer feedback. So not all of the algorithm-based systems out there you have to send back to be reset up, cartridge put in. Some of the like the 7X as well as the off-road, you can actually do it yourself while you're riding if you come off and you still have the rest of the ride to go through. So we do like that Alpinestars is moving in that direction.
So now let me ask you a question, because I really wasn't listening while you were talking. I was busy reading the comment section. Not that I'm not hanging on your every word.
No.
Did you talk about race versus street?
So yeah, we talked about that in the intro when we talked about they all have the different algorithms. For the Tech Air 5 specifically, there's a street mode as well as a race mode. So if you're going out to the track, you can go into the app and actually change it over to race mode. That's going to protect you just as much as it will out on the street, but it won't deploy if you have like an off under 30 miles an hour. So if you're coming through the pits or you just have a light tip over while you're going out on the track, it's not going to waste one of those cartridges. Whereas the street version, that's going to protect you at a stoplight. So if you are, even if you're dancing through the canyons on Route 2 outside of LA, you still want to have it in street mode because you're going to come to a light. You want that protection under 30 miles an hour. So that's why Alpinestars has two different mode systems built in.
So not a question, but I did want to read this comment from Paul Barrera. Says, pop off Pat McHugh.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he's talking about an airbag, because otherwise this wouldn't be a PG-13 friendly live stream anymore. We have to put it a approval rating, a PG.
Yeah, people know me for all the detonations that I get voluntold by
Exactly.
Spurgeon to be the model.
So maybe we'll pull a tether off on Pat in just a little bit. Any final thoughts on the Tech Air 5, or any questions coming in from the audience? So like battery life for this, if you charge it, you can get to the track.
You're about 20 hours or so of running time. That's average for Alpinestars, 20 to 25 hours. But I think one of the key parts is for having street and race mode within Alpinestars line, this is still one of the more budget-friendly options. They do have the Tech 3, which we'll talk about in a second, but when it comes to the options out there, this is going to be sub $800, so you are looking at most of their features for that affordable price.
And the cool thing about the algorithm-based stuff, especially when we're looking at the Alpinestars one, the algorithms that are built into the app go far beyond just controlling the airbag. You actually can get track data, you can get lean angles, there's one gyroscope, one accelerometer in this one, and it's a pretty sophisticated app that's kind of cool to play around with too.
Yeah, I think Alpinestars, and the best part in my opinion is the firmware being updatable. So if Alpinestars learn something and they can improve the system, they send it out to all units out there. So I do like that you can go in there, update the firmware, and constantly get an improving system.
Let's move on to the Tech Air 3 as just a call out here for a street option. And it's important to note that one of the critiques that we have for the 5 and the 3 that we've seen updated since is there's no real way to manually turn on or off the computer, right? You have to, close the magnet and it turns itself on. But when you're traveling, it would be nice to be able to manually turn the system off.
Yeah, we saw that with like the off-road was the best example. It has an on-off switch in there. Otherwise, if you're traveling with the Tech Air 3 or the Tech Air 5, you just have to make sure the magnets that actually close the circuit and turn the unit on aren't touching, and then it won't drain the battery or anything like that. But the Tech Air 3 is probably, it is the most budget-friendly option from Alpinestars out there for an algorithm-based this unit, and it has a system where you can wear it over or under your jacket, as opposed to the Tech Air 5, which is just underneath of your jacket.
Kyle Warner, I see your comment. You're getting a bit ahead of us here. Kyle is talking about two things that stopped him from buying the 5 was no real easy way to wash it and can't be reloaded by the user. And then he starts to insinuate the 7 or the off-road for some of that functionality. We'll get into that in just a minute, Kyle. But one of the things that I just wanted to hit on with the Tech 3 is that there's a lot of people out there that when you're looking at motorcycling, you're thinking about style as well, right? You're looking at, you know, a cafe racer, American V twin, and honestly, part of the appeal of this is not wanting to look like you're, you know, going out for a cross-country journey every time you just hop on the bike. So one of the things that we like that Alpine Stars has introduced with the Tech Air 3 specifically is they've got a canvas version, a leather version. So you have the base one around the $600 price point. You get up into $650, $750 when you're looking at the different canvas and leather options. But it's a much more lifestyle-based piece. You can wear this around, and it just looks like you're wearing a regular vest while you're riding.
Yeah, especially the canvas one. I think both of us agree that the canvas over the leather, I just think stylish looks better, and it kind of has a Carhartt look to it. But I just think that Alpine Stars is doing a great job of listening to what their customers are asking for. The Tech Air 3 was a little bit more Euro in its styling than it is here for the US, but I think this screams, you know, I could see this on a Dyna, I could see this on so many different bikes out there.
You're so fashion forward. I never knew this about you.
Yeah, I mean, don't judge my clothes by that.
Would you have guessed this guy? Fashionista over here. Any closing thoughts on the Tech 3 outside the fact that, like, same limitations that we talked about with the Tech 5. You do have to send it back into Alpine Stars to get recharged. It is only street mode, so you're not going to be taking this to the racetrack. Anything else?
No, I think that's the biggest thing to note. If you're looking at a system from Alpine Stars and that budget is, you know, say under $800 or between the Tech 5 and the Tech 3, but you have no plans on ever going to the track with it, I don't think you can go wrong with the Tech Air 3. I think you get all the benefits of their street mode. If you're not going to the track, you don't need that extra feature.
A couple of comments that I saw in the chat around the Dainese Smart Jacket. The reason we like this one a little bit better, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is that at a stop sign, this one provides a little bit better protection.
Yeah, it will protect you at a stop more, and I know Dainese is updating their smart line and their entire airbag line, but it also requires vibrations from the bike to constantly be on. So if the bike is, say, electric or anything like that, it will power off. But we've just seen Alpine Stars invest a little bit more, come out with more options, and have better features that are listening to what customers are actively wanting.
Which is why in this video we're really primarily talking about the Alpine Stars lineup as well as the Helite lineup, because that's really going to be the other piece of the component with this. So I am looking at all the comments in here on the other options that you are using, and that's just a little bit of insight as to why we would go with the Tech 3 over something like the Dainese. But now let's talk about some of the tethered systems and the tethered options. And the first one, the T2.
The T2.
Speaking of the Terminator.
Speaking of the Terminator, and in fact the best Terminator movie, but the T2 has been one of the options in Helite's line that has been a perennial favorite. I mean, one of the ones that we've seen, the Turtle original was one of the most popular selling airbags out there, and the T2 just made minor improvements, but made it something that's a little bit more accessible to most of the market out there.
Question, Kyle, you are active in the chats. Anything around neck coverage for the 3 versus the Helite? If we're looking at this before we get too far in the details here, anything around like neck coverage?
No, they're going to offer the same amount of neck coverage. Helite, just by their design, goes up and over since they don't have a zipper for each side. It's not something that like Alpine Stars is actually cut right about at the upper shoulders. But Alpine Stars works in Dakar and FIM. They require neck coverage as well, so you're getting exactly what the racing organizations are saying is exactly needed to replace, say, like a neck brace or something along those lines for off-road riding.
Now, again, I was busy in the chat here. Did we talk about pricing?
No, so this one's coming in just under that $700 price point, depending on the size that you get. Obviously, more material tends to cost a little bit more. But for Helite, this is coming in sub $700. And again, you're getting a full mechanical system. So again, if you pull the cord, you get a full deployment. But you're getting coverage up and over the shoulders and down the entire back. And it actually hangs pretty low with that airbag coverage down at the seat.
So this would be, for those of you just joining us, a perfect option for me to make you wear later as I deploy it on you.
I can't wait. I can't
wait. My gosh. So back to just a quick hit here. When we were talking about the downsides, the cons for something like the Turtle 2, you do have to make sure you come off the bike. So I would say if you are considering an airbag for adventure or off-road use where you might just have low-speed tip-overs, this might not be an option for you. I've seen some people using these at adventure events before. and you run the risk of accidental deployment, which is part of the downside for a tethered system.
Yeah, and if anybody's ever ridden with Spurgeon Dunbar off-road, he tips over every 5 minutes or so. So if he had one of these, we'd be stopping.
If you're not
every
falling
single
over, you're not trying hard enough in the adventure/dirt world.
Yeah,
so that's
in his case, if you're not taking a turn slow enough, you're going to tip over. So it seems to be everywhere out there, but you have the ability to go ahead and replace that canister out on the ride when you come to like a helite system. You can just take that cartridge out, put another one in, and be on with your ride.
So just a comment here about good coverage. Helite is a bit utility looking. We do have a Helite one that we'll get to in a little bit under the race section, which is probably a little bit sportier and offers some additional features that the Turtle 2 doesn't have. But Helite has absolutely been a leader in this technology. As we're looking at tethered systems, these were obviously some of the earlier systems to come out, and it's tried and true. You mentioned the fact that this is self-serviceable, so if you do deploy it, you're out on a trip and you want to keep riding, you can put another cartridge in and you can keep going. It's a pretty basic system when we're talking about airbags.
Yeah, and if the high vis scares you, it does come in an all black mode or all black colorway as well. If you're not really safety Steve with all the high vis colors
Safety
and
Steve.
reflective, but it does have that passive back protector built into it, which I do like. In case it doesn't deploy, you have a low side, you're still protected at the back.
Our boss's name is Steve. He's probably watching this video. That's a call out to you, Safety Steve,
Yeah.
with your high vis. You ride your BMW into the office.
Yes.
All right.
The other one I want to talk about though, and I want to bring up as an awesome, I'd say runner-up in that street algorithm one is the
What
H
are we
Move.
looking at? What is
the
this?
H Move backpack from Helite. So this is going to be the same concept with a mechanical deploying cartridge down at the base. This is actually where I got the tethered system from before, but it comes in a backpack form for anybody out there that's commuting or riding into work and needs that extra storage. This has been one that's been insanely popular on the market, especially as of the past couple months.
Chris Hoffman says drinking game. Every time he tips over, take a drink, would never make it out of the gate. Chris, I don't even know you, man.
But you're
talking about
on.
me falling over on my dirt bike and my
Spot
adventure
on,
bike.
Chris.
You're ridiculous.
Spot on.
So this is something that you would be looking at if you want a bit of an alternative. I like the fact, like Pat said here, if you don't want to use the backpack feature, you can unzip it. You can wear it as just an airbag. It is definitely something that, from a sizing perspective, you're not worried about sizing it under a jacket and whether or not the jacket's going to expand the right way like you are with the Alpine Star systems. It's pretty simple, but it does have the same limitations that we talked about when we were looking at the T2.
Yeah, and there is an electronic version of these, but I think everybody gravitates towards the tethered version just because it is that mechanical system. If you're going with Helite, you're typically looking at a mechanical system and you want that tethered system to deploy.
Do you
every
think
time you go.
that the Helite algorithm is nearly as sophisticated as the Alpine Star's algorithm?
No, it requires a fork sensor that ironically isn't even available in the US to protect you
What
at a
is a
standstill.
fork sensor?
So at under 15 miles per hour, the electronic version of this one won't protect you in the US unless you add on that fork sensor, which again, they don't have available in the US. So most people gravitate to looking at the tethered system when it comes to the H moves.
What is a fork sensor?
A fork sensor, it actually senses when there's a crash up front at 15 miles an hour or less.
Why do they call it a fork?
Because it claps onto the fork, or clamps onto the fork. Yeah,
Okay.
It's actually
Gotcha,
a fork. It's not like a fork.
I was like, that's why I
Yeah.
was like, what are you talking about?
No,
So
no.
I'm learning something new too, people. We're learning together here at RevZilla Live After Dark. So let's get away from the tether system. Is there any closing thoughts or questions or things that people should know if they're looking at the airbag?
No,
We get the price, $800.
Yeah, especially if you're looking at tethered systems. Again, we know this one's been insanely popular as of late, and as long as you're okay with the mechanical system and having that protection, if you're low siding or anything like that, and you're okay with that, I think the H Move's great, especially for commuters, anybody who needs to carry things to work. This is just an accessory you can toss over top, and you can not wear it if you don't want to.
John wants to know, John Mancuso, Mr. Mancuso wants to know, are we going to explain how to clean the Alpine Stars Tech Air 5 and 7X? I think we can talk more about it with the 7X, but the Tech Air 5,
I mean, there's cleaning instructions.
How do you clean it, Pat?
Yeah, there's instructions by Alpine Stars and videos I believe they already have produced out there. If you are curious on how to wash it, the Tech Air 10, you can easily remove all the computer systems and wash it. Same with the 7X and the 5. There are specific washing instructions, but that is the benefit. If you send it back after a deployment, back to Alpine Stars, they will also clean it up for you. So you do have those bonuses out there.
Mancuso, you're asking the wrong guys. We're stinky, we're dirty, we don't barely wash our own clothes, let alone our airbag systems. Joking aside, it is one of the bigger concerns around airbag technology. Tech Air 7X really starts to address this. This is a system that is going to replace the Alpine Stars race system. This is something that I just got to be at the launch for down in Austin at MotoGP. This is the newest system from Alpine Stars, coming in around the $1,000 price point, but it's addressing a lot of the issues that we've talked about with the Tech Air 5 and the Tech Air 3. We had people talking about concerns about the reason I haven't gotten this is I don't want to have to, send it back to Alpine Stars to replace Tech 7. Replaceable cartridges.
Yeah, replaceable cartridges, full coverage. You have street and track mode, full shoulder coverage, and a little bit more of an athletic fit over top of it. But you can actually see you can access the panels in this one like we originally saw with the off-road version. They put that information, or that technology, I should say, into the 7X. And really, it's great because you can replace each canister. You get 2 deployments, and then you need up to 4. You get 4 until they say you should technically have the airbag looked at to make sure it's safe. So you can replace both of those if you're having a really rough weekend at the track. You can go ahead and swap them out and keep going for the next track session.
So the other thing that we like about this is there's a little plug. When it comes, that little plug isn't plugged in. You have to plug it in to activate the power system. But if you're traveling, maybe you're going to do a remote track day, or you're hopping on a plane and you're taking it somewhere with you, you can unplug that to make sure you don't get an accidental deployment. The other piece here is that panel that we pulled off, you need to make sure that panel is completely seated and sealed. Otherwise, the system will not activate. That's something we learned while trying to detonate this in the studio.
Yeah. One thing I want to address in the comments, because I've seen it come up a few times. Josh was the most recent one here. Is any thoughts on the RevZilla airbag? The Vertum is that airbag. That's actually just the Tech Air 5 in sheep's clothing. It's the exact same system, just branded to RevZilla for a couple bucks more. You get a different style. So if you are considering that one, you'd basically take the same information from the Tech Air 5. I did want to hit that just because it was popping up a few times.
Yeah, I want to hit Apex Radius that said this is like QVC for degenerates.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I mean, I can't think of a better way to describe what you're watching right now. What does that make you?
Yeah, I know.
You're sitting there staring at us doing this. So, I mean, we're all in this together, my friend. I think this is absolutely one of the more sophisticated systems that we've seen. In addition to the fact that you're getting the race modes, you're getting the street mode, you're getting 2 additional accelerometers here. So more of that technology. If you are somebody that's going to the track regularly, you can use that tech in the app to do everything from like lean angle to make sure that you're improving. There's just a lot of offerings within the technology itself. The other piece about this is how to clean it. This one is one that you can wear with an existing race suit. You can get one of the new Alpine Stars suits where this zips in, and you can take the brains out of this and you can wash it. I get it. It is a concern. You come back from a sweaty racetrack day and your stuff is funky and you want to throw it in the wash. So the way that this system is set up, you can take it apart, you can take the brains out, and you can throw it in the washing machine, and you can wash your suit.
Yeah, I think honestly the biggest benefit from the old Tech Air race system moving into the Tech Air 7X that we talked about, that's kind of the replacement for that whole unit. You used to have to buy a specific race suit to plug that Tech Air race into, and then you had to buy a specific jacket that could zip in and plug into that system for the road. This one you can wear on its own. You can just zip it together, take it out in any jacket you have as long as it has the space for that deployment. Or Alpine Stars are going to be rolling out some additional suits that this plugs directly into, and will actually have a sensor on the sleeve so you can tell what the status is of the airbag at any given point.
Jack Scone wants to know, is the RevZilla airbag larger?
No, it's the exact same system as the Tech Air 5. Nothing changes about the airbag itself, the brains, the computer, everything like that. It's just the outer shell that says RevZilla's logo on the outside. RevZilla and Alpine Stars partner for MotoGP. Every RevZilla racer is wearing Alpine Stars underneath of it, and RevZilla just wanted to offer something similar with their logo on it to the market.
But it's a good note. The Tech Air 5 is the RevZilla jacket, which is why we did not pick the RevZilla jacket for this. You want to hand me that so I can put it back together before I throw it away?
There you go.
Any final thoughts, questions, or concerns around the Tech Air 7? The one thing I'll note is, depending on when you're watching this video, this is brand new. So this is up for pre-sale right now. We're expecting inventory to be in before, I believe, the end of the month. But this is absolutely just launched. We just started testing this and playing around with it. This is the latest and greatest from Alpine Stars.
And the one thing I did want to note is I had a concern about it, and you actually like it for street use with the lower portion cover is actually the tail coverage, the tailbone coverage. Did you want to talk about that?
I think the only concern there is depending on whether or not you're in a full tuck position. If you're in a more of an upright position, you might find this to be a bit cumbersome, depending on what your comfort level is. So, I mean, Did it bother you? Like, how much of a tuck would you want to be in before this is going to be an issue for you?
I'd say for sport bikes, naked bikes, I think it's going to be just fine. Your riding position is
always
going to
trying
cover
to talk
that.
about being naked. This is a
you got to free yourself,
program.
free yourself and enjoy the moment. But for anybody who's like upright riding or V-twin, I don't think the 7X is going to be very comfortable because that airbag does deploy or does go underneath of it and will deploy. So just keep that in mind. It's aimed at sport riders and anybody riding sport bikes out on the street or going to the track, but you can get it in a little bit more upright riding position. And again, Spurgeon loves this one just for all the added features. So if that's the case, you can get in, even on your KTM, I think this would be just fine.
Spotlight Exotic, great question. We talked about sizing a bit in the beginning. So everything that we're talking about from an Alpine Stars system is designed to be worn underneath your jacket, aside from the Tech 3. Mm-hmm. What Alpine Stars calls out is you should have roughly 4 centimeters of extra space around the torso. All the sizing information is on each of the individual product pages, but you're either going to want to wear it with a Tech Air compatible jacket, which has additional stretch, or you need to make sure that your jacket has additional room. Again, Alpine Stars calls out roughly 4 centimeters of extra space. If you're grabbing, I don't want to mess with my microphone, but if you're grabbing your shirt, or your jacket rather, you should be able to pull out and measure roughly 2 centimeters multiplied by 2 is 4. We're math majors as well here. But that's really how you should be sizing this, because you do need the extra room. The one thing you know for a race suit, same thing. If you're wearing your race suit already and it's absolutely as tight as can be, you're going to have to also consider bumping up a size in your race suit or getting something that's Tech Air compatible.
Yeah, and if you're concerned about that and maybe you don't want to replace your jacket at the same time as you buy it, that's maybe where the Tech Air 3 or the canvas or leather options would be great, because you could just put it over your existing sized gear.
But definitely a consideration, as we're talking about track and sizing up your tracksuit or sizing your tracksuit appropriately, as we move on to the Tech Air 10.
Yeah, and I know we've been back and forth because we both love the 7X, and we've been back and forth whether we wanted to showcase this. And I wanted to bring it up because I think the Tech Air 10 is something that deserves to be called out, because this was an option from Alpine Stars that brought their MotoGP level protection, covering the hips as well. So the airbag actually goes all the way down to the hips, which is what you see from the MotoGP racers out there. So I think it's worth calling out if getting that extra protection is key for you and you don't mind wearing like a base layer as well, because it's all kind of baked in to this one piece. That's something you want to consider as the Tech Air 10. I think it's great. Doesn't get the replaceable cartridges like we've seen the new models, because this has been out for a couple of years. But again, it gets the most protection out of any airbag we have out there. It's the most coverage from the airbag itself.
You call it a bear bag?
Airbag.
Okay,
yeah.
Just making sure you're articulating.
I mean, bear bags would be interesting if
the
a bear
old
just
bear
protected
bag.
you.
Yeah. So this is going to be the most expensive one that we have on the table today, $1,100. I really think if you're looking at this and you're looking at the Tech Air 7, you're going to have, it's not, the $100 isn't the difference here. It's, are you okay with the non-replaceable cartridges, and are you looking for the additional coverage down their hips? I'm going to call out the comment because I see you probably laughing. Jack Scorn wants to know, how is Pat's knee? A hockey fan wants to know. Pat hurt his knee playing hockey.
I mean, I more than hurt my knee. I blew out my ACL, so I haven't been riding at all, but surgery went great. Thanks, Jack, for asking.
Stand up right now and let me push you, and let's see if you fall over.
I wish I could stand up in general.
He took his brace off to shoot this video. It's why we're sitting down on stools. The man can't stand.
I'm comfortable, but I appreciate that. The one thing I did want to say about that is there's a lot of people asking, how do you wash these airbags? Which is funny. When you go to the track, everyone smells to high hell, so I don't know where all these people are.
Where are you going
at
to
the track
days at?
Everyone in New
roses,
Jersey at
baby.
the tracks is stanking. But you can wash these. Almost all airbags have instructions built into them to wash it. I mean, Alpine Stars even sells the base layer itself on its own in case you get to the point where you just want to replace it outright. So you can remove all the brains and the airbag itself and wash it. Just for anybody out there that's going to comment again and ask, I mean, that seems like it's a key factor for everybody.
There's probably people out there watching this right now wondering if we removed our brains before shooting this video based on exactly how we're doing right now. But I think we're actually doing pretty well.
Yeah, that's where the Red Bulls kick in.
I'm telling you, baby. So we're going to move on. Our producer Chase is waving his proverbial arms, saying, you knuckleheads have talked too long about these track-oriented, algorithm-based airbags. You need to move on to the best tethered airbag. Pat?
The best tethered for the track is going to be the GP Air Track, and I think even Bill Riccardi in the comments was waiting for us to get to an Helite option, and here you have it, Bill. We have the GP Air Track. So this is going to be the similar technology as the turtle that we talked about before, and most Helite systems all use similar tech. But this comes with leather protection, a bit more of a robust entry too, to make sure that that stays on, and a race hump spot in the back so you can put it over a suit, because obviously that a regular system will hump out over that. So they have the
Humping
cutaway.
out over that. Watch your language, man. How many times do I have to tell you?
And you have removable leather inserts, so you can actually replace these. If you slide, this will pop off, because that's a prone area for the slide. So you can pop it off and go ahead and replace it and keep using it if you need to. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, if you are concerned at all about algorithm,
You're lucky. I think we were on a B-roll shot at that point. You're lucky, audience. You didn't get to see it. The GP Air is Spurgeon's favorite option out there on the market. I can promise you that, but it's coming in a little bit more expensive with all that leather at $920.
So again, we're not gonna beat this to death. My only concern with this is that if you're looking at the tethered system, I have my most preferred way of crashing on a racetrack is going to be a low side, and this is something where if you don't come off of the bike, or maybe you don't come off of the bike until you're already down, you're not going to get that inflation ahead.
I thought your favorite form of track day crashing was first lap, before anybody even goes
was a low
around it
side.
and just wrecking it.
That was a low side.
That was a low side. I forgot because the bike was so destroyed.
And the bike started sliding away from me, and it was fine until I hit the curbing, and then it started flipping.
Yeah, luckily he had a sticker on the back that said "New Rider, keep back," so nobody else was.
That was
harmed
my
in that.
adventure bike. Yeah. All right, so Sean Cunningham saying, producer Chase, quit being such a downer, laugh out loud. Producer Chase is the same producer that keeps Zach and I in line for high side, low side. So the same reason Zach and I aren't allowed to have any fun on high side, low side is the same reason that we're getting reeled in right now, Pat and I.
Yeah, and I think there's also another comment from Tom P saying it feels like an Alpine Stars and Helite infomercial. And it's like, I mean, we looked at all the options on the market, and while there are other good contenders out there, Alpine Stars and Helite are the ones listening to the audience, listening to the riders, and really just giving options for every market out there and doing it extremely well. So it's hard to really ignore the top players in the game right now.
Yeah, so the other one that I saw called out in the comment section was the Climb airbag. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest problems that Pat and I have with the Climb airbag is the fact that it requires a subscription-based system.
Yeah.
People don't like that. They don't like the fact that if you're missing a payment, they can shut it down. You have to keep up with it, where everything we're talking about today just works. The other thing with the Climb is that it's not sophisticated, especially as we get into our final pick, which is off-road. So really what we tried to do is highlight the systems that are working the best for what you're paying for them. There's obviously other systems out there. Everybody's got their own preferences. So use a little bit of the research that we were talking about outside of this video. We have links down below where you can go and you can look at all the different systems that are available, and you can do your own research to see what is the best one that you like, and then come back and drop a comments down below. Yeah,
and I think like Helite even and Alpine Stars are investing in their own company to build these things, whereas Climb looked at another brand and built it off of their technology. So I like to see that these brands are constantly listening. They're building out divisions within their brands and constantly updating them for everybody.
Same thing we're talking about with the Revit, right?
Yeah.
The question about the Revit, it's a Tech Air 5 just with a bit of pizzazz to it, the way Revit is known to do. So speaking of pizzazz, I'm going to set this one aside because I think most of the audience that's here is just sticking around to see if I deploy this on you. So I'm just going to leave that there just for a bit of a treat at the end. We were talking about off-road riding, and there's a couple different options out there, but really when we're talking about an off-road system, we talked about why a tethered system doesn't make sense for off-road. If you tip over like I do, as Pat McHugh was making fun of me for, you accidentally pull the tether. Enough. You accidentally pull a tether, it ignites, it explodes, it inflates. That's the word I'm looking for. You never want to say the word explodes when you're talking about airbags or boarding a plane. With the Tech Air Off-Road, this is going to be something that is designed to be used in an off-road situation. So if you do have a low-speed tip over, it's not going to just go off on you. $1,000 for the price on this, one gyroscope, one accelerometer. But what's the difference here when we're talking about the ride modes?
So the ride modes, this was really cool. I was at the launch of this one out in Death Valley a few months ago before I hurt my knee. This was a really fun launch to go out to. We got to meet with Ricky Brabeck, Skylar Howes. They're using these in the rally mode. So there's rally, enduro, and street modes. So it really covers most of what ADV riders out there are doing. But it was cool to hear from professionals who are required to wear these in races like Dakar. They've been riding in them for about 4 or 5 years now, and we're now starting to get the trickle down of all that technology. So it was really cool to hear their sentiment, and even talking to them, they won't ride without these now. So it's really cool that we're getting this technology and even having that option to toggle it between the modes. So if you're going at a higher speed ADV section, you can put it in rally mode. If you're getting to tight and technical, you can pop it in enduro. And if you're just on the street for a long haul, say if you're going cross country and you're on a highway stretch, you can pop it into street mode and just make sure you're protected.
So we talked about this with the Tech 7, but the first airbag system from Alpine Stars to employ the fact that it is swappable canisters on your own was the Tech Air Off-Road. We saw them follow up with the Tech Air 7. This is probably the best feature that I wish Alpine Stars would carry over to the 3, the 5, and the 7. The 7, we talked about that little plug. If you've got big fingers, it's hard to get in. There is an on-off switch. This makes it really simple. If you are not using this, you're storing it in the closet, you're storing it in a gear bag for transportation, you can turn the system off. If you're using it, you turn the system on and it lights up like a Christmas tree and you know what you're doing. I think having an on-off switch for the other systems would make a lot of sense from a transportation standpoint, and then you're also not wasting battery life unnecessarily.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned not mentioning explode while getting on a plane. I had to travel back with these, and I was nerve-wracked about checking this in a bag, and Alpine Stars reps were like, we fly with 5 at a time, and we've been doing it for years. So TSA was getting used
5 at a time?
because they go to shows and they show off, and they actually get to deploy them. But it was cool to actually have that go into my airbag or my checked bag and put it in there. But because it's off, the entire battery is separated from the system. It's completely inert. So it was really cool to talk to them about that as like these things that they've built in, and I hope to see, just like you said, that they trickle it into other options out there.
Inert.
Inert.
You're using such big vocab. I'm so proud of you.
I was doing a
The
crossword
audience,
before.
you know, we're upping our game.
Yeah,
We're getting a little bit more highbrow as the night wears on. Inert. So I lost my train of thought because I was picking on your vocabulary. When we're looking at this, I don't know where I was going to go with that.
No.
Hydration pack.
You got
other
it.
things.
I have tons to talk. I love this airbag system. I think this is one of, right before the 7X launch, this was probably the pinnacle of what Alpine Stars technology was putting into it and features-wise. I love that you can remove the armor. So if you're wearing a, say, an adventure jacket that already has that built in, you can remove it and you just put it on just like a normal. It has full protected chest, back, all that built into it just in case you don't have it deploy. Say if you're just tipping over, you still have that protection. And honestly, they also upgraded this to CE level 2 because they realized even from their pro racers, when they were getting into a crash, they were still smashing into the front of the bike at such force. They wanted to just make sure everybody was protected. When you think those rally bikes have the big tower on the front, so they got to really be protected up front.
I remember what I was going to say when I was picking on you for your vocabulary. My critique for this one is I have an Alpine Stars off-road rig that I really like. It's their $150, I forget what it's even called. It's the most affordable off-road rig that they have. And it has these cool little like crisscross straps to keep the elbow armor in place. I like the fact that you're getting elbow armor with this because if you are going to fall off your motorcycle, chances are your elbows are one of the first things to go down. And if you're falling off at low speeds, you don't need the bag to deploy and you got your elbow to protect you. I would have loved to just see that little crisscross included on this just to better hold the elbow armor in place. One of my critiques with this is that depending on how you fall over, you do run the risk of the elbow armor just pushing up and not necessarily doing the job to protect you.
Yeah, especially, and I saw a comment come in about this from Shadow 991. He's like, is a jacket required over this? So Alpine Stars did build it with a little bit of abrasion resistance in those areas, so I agree. Having that strap there would help the armor stay in place. Say if you only put a jersey over top of this or a light jacket, it is meant to be worn over top. I will say though, I rode with it no jacket over top or anything like that, and it's still designed to be protective with the impact armor, with a little bit of abrasion where you're key to, like, prone to go down. So you can wear it without, although it is designed to be worn over top or underneath of a jacket.
So out of all the systems we talk about today, Bill Riccardi wants to know easiest one to live with, to tour with, to commute with. Is it going to be a Helite? If you had to pick.
If you're going mechanical, I think the Helite, probably Turtle too, would be my easiest one to live with on a routine basis. If you're looking at an algorithm based, I think if you're touring, you're doing all that, the Tech Air 3 would probably be my favorite option. I just hope Alpine Stars in maybe like say next year, the year after, will come out with one where you can replace the canister on your own so you can carry it. In case you have a small off, it goes off, you can go ahead and repack it, especially if you're touring, because you're not going to be likely near somewhere where you can ship it back.
Cool. I would agree with that. I think that, you know, if I was going with algorithm based, I think the Tech Air 3 is probably the easiest to live with. I would say that if I was going with the one to do all, especially for my type of riding, I would probably be leaning somewhere between the Tech Air Off-Road and the Tech Air 7. But I don't necessarily know that those are the easiest ones to live with. which was your question.
Yeah, and that's why we split it down in all these categories, because like it depends on what you're riding. It depends on whether you want mechanical or a tethered system, I should say, or an algorithm-based one. There's all these different areas that you're going to start when you're in your search and kind of pick this category and run in that direction. So that's why we wanted to line up quite a few options so you can really decide what's right for you in your ride.
Best airflow?
Best airflow would probably be, the 7X. Just because it's the tightest fitting, it's a full mesh styling. But if you're wearing a mesh jacket over that, it's going to flow air everywhere else. Whereas like this is going to be great.
You said you were pretty surprised with how breathable this was, though, right?
Yeah, considering we're in Death Valley, like this was flowing a ton of air. I thought it would block more. The airbag itself blocks most of the air, but everywhere else flows tons of air like a mesh jacket would. So if you are concerned about that, you can wear the off-road and just not wear a jacket over top of it.
The other thing to consider too is with the Helite, it's only going to be as breathable as the jacket you're wearing. Same thing with like the Tech Air 3. So it really comes down to like what is the gear that you're complementing this with. John Ray Gerardo just says, "Mom." That's super productive, and I want to thank you for contributing to the comments section, JRG. So I think we are getting to the final thoughts. We've walked through the Tech Air 5, the Tech Air 3. We've walked through the Helite T2, the Helite H-Move. We talked about the Tech Air 7X. We talked about the Tech Air 10. We talked about the Helite, what was the race one? That's
GP
what
Air
I
Track.
forgot to do. So we talked about potentially yanking Pat's chain. Who out there in the audience wants to see Pat McHugh put this on and have me pull his little inflator and we can blow this up? He's going to do it, folks. He is a consummate professional. Oh,
It's going to be loud on the microphone, so I hope
hope
everybody's ready for that.
Close your ears. So we're gonna keep monitoring here for final questions while we do this. Again, the focus was on Alpine Stars and Helite for aforementioned reasons. We talked about the fact that there's other manufacturers out there doing this. These are really our favorite picks for right now. If you are looking for other content, you can check out our Best of Airbags page, which goes through all the different airbag options available to make sure you find the right airbags for you. We also have a airbags information page, which is RevZilla.com/airbags to give you information about airbags. And if airbags just aren't in your budget, you're not interested in an airbag yet, maybe you're at a different point in your motorcycling journey, check out our Best of Gear pages. We have got a ton of curated content out there to walk you through maybe the best mesh jacket available, or the best pair of gloves, or the best helmet. We have all that information at the ready for you to go. All of our camera people are crouching down right now like they're afraid that this is somehow going to scare them. Anyway, well, Pat, was that too small for you?
No, this one's a little bit more comfortable.
Oh, okay.
You gotta be comfortable when you're gonna make.
You gotta be comfortable when you're gonna ignite an airbag on camera. Customer service is always standing by. Like I said earlier, Pat and I started at customer service. I've been here at RevZilla for like 11 years now. You've been here for
10 years.
10 years now. We staff customer service with actual motorcyclists and riders. They are there to answer your questions. They are there to make sure you find the right gear, the right parts for your ride, as well as your budget. You can always reach out to customer service at cs@revzilla.com, and you can always give them a call at 877-792-945. Also, a shameless plug, as long as we're throwing plugs out, check out Common Tread and all the other content that we're doing outside of products. You ready for this? Pat has no mic on. He can't talk. Pat has no mic. People, Pat has lost his microphone. Oh my God. See, you have to really come off the motorcycle here. Woo! There we go. Hope you enjoyed our time here with RevZilla discussing airbags. It's been a hoot for us. I'm Spurge. This is Pat. Till next time, enjoy the ride.